like what we said during the plug, it is something that we have hinted at the past few years about this one TV show called She's a Terrorist and I Love Her that we made for this now defunct streaming platform called HOOQ, HOOQ, which liquidated literally 3 years ago to this day. 27th March 2020, they liquidated. Terence and I found out through a press release, and it caused a fucking tough period for us, business-wise, personally, and all that, like, because they owed us at that point, and they still owe us a shit ton of money. After making
how much exactly?
It's 205,000 Singapore dollars. Most of which had already been expensed to make the damn show. So I mean, like, the whole liquidation process, for anyone familiar with liquidation, not familiar, essentially is, and this was something that I had to learn along the way also. When a company liquidates, all its assets are put in the arms and hands of the liquidator, who is like a lawyer or lawyers. And then they decide what to do with it, to sell it, to pay back whoever the company owes money. And then there's a hierarchy of how many people are owed money and how much. And normally for vendors like us, we are at the bottom of the pile. So it was a very tough period, 2020, and we couldn't show the show because the liquidation was going on. And after multiple delays, it was supposed to be ended on November 2022. But up till now, we have no news. So yeah, we are taking it into our own hands and just releasing our show on our YouTube channel. The liquidation process was ongoing, and we had spoken to so many people from HOOQ, from Singtel, who owns the majority stake in HOOQ, or who used to own, to even the liquidators via email, and we were just being passed around like just passed around like a fucking hot potato, and people would leave and tender, and then we had to tell the story to the new person that we are in contact with, and at no point did we say, okay we're gonna go to the press because we were good Singaporeans and wanted to play ball okay, we're like, okay, there's a process, let's just play ball. But then November 2022 came, no news from the lawyers, and that's when you and I started talking And what did we talk about, Terence?
Yeah, I think, to your point, we talked about really just sharing our story and showing the product to the world, right? Not even like trying to monetize from it or anything, but really like it was a labor of love for us. I think we have so many times referred to it as a creative baby, right? It was a labor of love, and we spent all that time creating that, and only for it, and not just us. We're talking about a lot of actors and a lot of crew, a lot of post-production people who put a lot of time and effort and pulled favors and things like that to get this made because they believed in what it was, what it represented, what the story was. But yeah, everything, the rug was just pulled from under everyone in that same period. In the same period when Singapore, when circuit breaker was announced, like COVID was starting to hit everyone. So it was almost like the show just never had a chance to breathe, never had a chance to come to light and show itself to the world, and even just get people to just see what we're capable of, right? And so, to me, that's the bigger part of it, is that I want people to watch it, and because of whatever legalities there are and all, we just never had the chance to in the last 3 years, and again, we are very, very in the dark about what's going on with the liquidation. So after a while, we're like, you know what? I think let's just show the world what we have, right? And not hide behind any kind of like hope that we'll be made good or something will some good Samaritan will come and want to right this ship, because I think there's been a lot of opportunities to right this ship, so to speak, from HOOQ side and all, but given the fact that we were the blinders were around us literally until the liquidation was announced, where we knew nothing about the financial state of HOOQ and the plans that they had until the liquidation was announced, and realizing that we'd not be paid a lot of that money. I think we've given the people a lot of chances, to right the ship, but it's not happened. So let's just tell our story our own side.
Yeah. And I mean, the reason why it is such a labor of love for both Terence and I and our team that was involved, and why we have hinted about it, and why even after 3 years, well, we have moved on. We have learned a lot about business. We have diversified our content. This podcast literally came out during COVID because we were getting fucked on that end. We couldn't make videos. We couldn't make TV shows. So we're like, let's just try this podcast. It was on air for like 2 months, and it got taken off. And the people we work with, you got Benjamin King, you got Muna Baghrib, you got Noah Yap, Ketania Tan, Smiling Afro. We put together a really dope team from the cast, the crew, the post-production, the sound designers. And just to see it all get taken off like that. Because literally the day before we found out about the liquidation, we were at their office talking about season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just something that we're like, like a lot of people get screwed over by the corporations and all that. And I think that feeling of helplessness really sucks. So what we just want to close this chapter of our lives, put it out there and kind of end it on our terms.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of details about what happened that you can read in the article. And I encourage everyone to read it to understand that, because the article also talks to other producers and talks to other producers who involved, similarly like us, but maybe not to the same amount of money or the same investment in the IP and things like that. But you will hear from other people that it wasn't just us who got screwed over by this whole process and are still in the dark about it years later. They talk about people who were fresh out of school and literally had to basically pay back whatever they owed people till the end of last year. They talked about production houses, pretty decently sized production houses who basically on the back of this as a bad experience also decided to not make any more, not continue pursuing their dream of making shows like this already So I think that's the one thing that I think is I also took away from this, is that there is value in reaching out to other people who have been affected, and that was something for us at the start of the whole process. When we first heard about liquidation, we're like, wow, what do we do? We're not getting any answers when we ping the company or the liquidators or anything. What can we do? And you felt really helpless. One good thing is that we really rallied together, talked to the other producers, and got everyone to come together, not even to specifically do anything, but even just to share experiences of what was going on for each of us. It's like a support group, right?
During circuit breaker,
yeah. Circuit breaker, 1 hour, 2 hour calls late into the night. People across the world, in London, in Singapore, and other parts of Asia, just talking to each other and just commiserating about, hey, we all got screwed over together, and can we all put our heads together and try to find a way out of this, lah? And that really showed me that a lot of these instances when you just keep quiet and think that there's no one that can help you when you're going through this yourself and all that, it can be a very isolating, painful experience, and nothing beats like just talking to other people who might share your experience or even have a couple ideas to help you as well, right?
Because I mean, it was a discussion that Terence and I had. Like, actually, what are we trying to do here? Why are we putting it on our channel? Which, I mean, it's not a clear-cut thing that we even can do. Right? Because the liquidation is such a mess. But for us, the big thing was like, okay, first of all, even the actors who over the past few years have said, hey, can you just send me some clips of my acting? I want to put it in my showreel. We're like, I don't think we can. Same for the camera team, the sound designers. So part of it was that, but part of it was also like, like you almost don't want this story to die a slow death, because when we read the press release, I did tell Terence, hey, so what? They're liquidating. There's a contract. They have to pay us this shit ton of money. Right, I remember it was on Friday 1:30 when I think we spoke on the phone. They were like, dude, it's a fucking liquidation. And I'm like, what? They're not going to pay us? So it's almost like if the more people are aware of this kind of things, hopefully it's helpful. And I mean, hopefully the other articles in the coming weeks, hopefully the stories that the actors and all will be sharing, the clips would get the word out. And at the end of it, we will do another podcast or another AMA where we answer any questions about the entire process. Because if we want to do a podcast about it, we can do a whole mini series, man, I think, where we just detail the detail, like the exact chronology of what happened, lah. But no, lah. I don't think we need to at this point.
Yeah, yeah. So in
Yeah.
terms of when you read the article, like all this time after having gone through this and all, is there anything in the article that particularly surprises you as well?
This article in particular,
Hmm.
I mean, less of a surprise, but just a reminder, like, especially when you look at how much money is owed to us and the other producers versus what was the revenue and profit for like Singtel for those months, which is in the billions. Then you're like,
Mm-mm-mm.
are we just a line item? So yeah, but there was nothing new per se for
Yeah.
you.
We're not even a line item, man. We're like
Yeah,
negligible.
yeah,
No, I think what's useful about a third party talking about this is that they've had the writer Colin who spoke to us. He and his team, I think they've at Tech in Asia, right? They've had a chance to actually reach out to the other producers, and they also managed to talk to an individual who was trying to purchase HOOQ's assets, right,
mm,
during the liquidation. And I think the quote that was given was that they were like selling a car without an engine, right, without the
mm,
engines.
mm,
So that's how messy it was, that basically none of the things were in place to ensure some kind of a smooth transition or handover. So this thing is relatively new to me. I mean, I knew it was messy, but to hear this being quoted as from the source itself really
mm.
tells you how messy it was, and again, it's not what they did per se was not illegal, but the ethics of it is something you really need to think about, lah. And part of us coming forward is to keep people honest, lah, right? Keep them accountable for their actions.
Yeah.
You want to do something that is legal but unethical, yeah, lah, go ahead. But there needs to be the record of it needs to be out there in the open as well, lah, right?
But Terence, that is the business world, Terence. It is dog eat dog. Okay, you go see dogs
Correct.
talk to each other and show compassion or not. Why, Terence?
I mean, yeah, lah. So that's the thing, lah. So I mean, like what you said, it needs to be a warning to other, whether it's freelancers or SMEs that deal with these large corporations and all. Like, what can happen to you even when you think that, it's blue chip. There's no way this thing will just disappear overnight, and the office is in Orchard Road or whatever. That doesn't mean anything when people just are determined to just quickly cut their losses and use whatever use corporate structures to protect themselves. So
Yeah,
I think it's a very important warning that needs to be out there. And I'm just glad that we talk about this, but we're not the only ones talking about it, right? The fact that the other producers have come forward and even the person who was trying to purchase the assets just saying what a mess it was as well, right?
Yeah. And I mean, the thing you mentioned about the corporate structures, I think why I wish there was more articles like this when we were going through it, or even just in the work. Because, one of the things you realize when you start working is the importance of a good boss, right? They never teach you that in school. You only learn it through experience, lah. So similarly, one big thing for us throughout this whole process was understanding how the corporate structure really can protect people and absolve them of responsibility, like, which is something if you're in a small company, you can't, right? The biggest example was I remember one person told us, oh, you guys have taken loans to pay it off. You have outstanding payments. Why don't you liquidate your company so you don't have to pay? And we're like, how the fuck does that make sense? Right? And when you speak to all these corporates who, I mean, certain leadership people from HOOQ, a few months later, they were reinstated as CEOs of other tech companies, right? I think, yeah, I mean, you can find out the leadership of HOOQ at that point in time. I don't think they're quoted in this article, but yeah, it's all there, and they almost got a promotion in their next career, right? And I think looking back at my own corporate experience, is one of those things that, like at work, the whole, is it really meritocratic, or is it easy to just hide behind the words of like, oh, boss say one lah, board of directors say one lah, company say one. So it's just a reminder of that lah, like, whoa man, stop hiding behind these kind of things lah.
Yeah. So it's yeah lah. I think it made us both much more careful, right?
Mm.
And more wary of dealings, especially with large corporations and all that. Because
Yeah.
it is, you never realize. I mean, probably ours is that extreme, no? That you people rarely factor in as a possibility that
Mm.
overnight the company just disappears.
Mm.
And disappears is one thing. The next thing is, even to chase back your money, you have to go to Mauritius to try and chase the money back. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
people go Mauritius for holidays, we go Mauritius to go and chase some money and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, it's just a whole. It's just something that I think serves as a very important warning to people who might be in similar situations. I think the last few years we've seen quite a bit of these companies doing this, whether it was Nice or even Robinsons when they liquidated, and a lot of times the partners, the vendors, are the first ones to get screwed, right?
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
customers are coming and raiding the store and trying to buy up everything, but the partners and vendors don't even know where the money is going to go, right? Whether it's going to go back to them or what, and they kind of had to run in and go and grab their wares back and all. So it's really a very messy situation that is afforded by this act of just throwing out hands and liquidating the company, lor. Yeah.
And I mean, I know we sound like what Terence said at the start of the podcast. We're like raining on your parade, right? Maybe Monday you wanted like an uplifting thing to raise your spirits, but actually,
Mm,
it is a very happy thing for us that we can finally show the series, and also
mm,
coming out of that, right? Like what Terence said, we actually learn a shit ton. I mean, that's why we have this podcast, we have folklore, we still do TV shows because back then, I think we put too many eggs in one basket lah. So we learned from there.
mm, mm,
And I think one big thing that in 2020, yeah, this podcast really kept us going, no?
mm,
It
mm,
was the only kind of light at that point in time where we're like, oh shit, we are creating content that seems to resonate. So if you've been listening since then, if you started listening, I don't know, last week, just the fact that you're listening to this, it really means a shit ton. Like. And if it wasn't for this, right, I don't even know
mm,
whether, because even between Terrence and I, we had to have a lot of hard conversations. Should we even keep doing this? But this podcast really kept us going. La. So a big thank you and shout out to all of y'all listening. And even like the friends and family who came forward to help and all. Yeah, like if you're
mm,
listening,
mm.
just a big shout out to all of you.